Dear Melissa, as a product manager, I always struggle to work with UXers who don't do their preparation to be able to create a good user experience. How do you work with UXers who don't do any user research or try to understand the product or the limitations around it? Right now, I'm facing an issue where my UXer has no research capability, no understanding of the product, but comes up with a mock-up and expects us to implement it, which creates tension with the developers, myself, and other team members. Any advice would be really appreciated.
All right, so if your UX designers are not doing any user research whatsoever and they have no desire to learn about your customers, they're a graphic designer. They're not a UX designer, right? I expect all of my UX designers to understand deeply what the customer is doing, to want to know what the customer is doing, to want to understand the product and how all those things come together. And if you're working with somebody who's not doing that, you kind of have to take some of the reins and give them a lot of direction. So you've got to go in and step in and do the user research. You should be doing it anyway, but you're going to have to guide them a lot. And in this case, I'd say they're probably doing your team a disservice because they're just kind of there to make things pretty, but not necessarily usable. So, what can you do to help them steer in the right direction to solve good problems? Anytime you get designs back from them, I would start to critique it on a level of, can people use this? Does it solve a problem? How usable is it? Does it actually accomplish what people want to accomplish with their goal? And start to ask those questions. And as a product manager, you do have the right to critique UX designers' designs, right? You don't want to ship a product that's not going to solve problems for other people. So I think you want to take a step back and understand with your UX designer, are they not doing user research because they don't know how to or they haven't done it before? In which case, can you guide them? Can you do it with them? Can you introduce them to this type of framework? Or are they doing it because they don't want to and they just want to make pretty designs in a corner and never talk to anybody again? If it's a lack of knowledge, you can actually solve for that. You can help, get them the right coaching that they need. You can help steer them in the right direction. But if it's I don't really want to do this, then we're going to have bigger problems, right? And it might not be the best fit for your team. Now, as a product manager, you don't have the ability to choose your team, which is definitely frustrating. So you're going to have to make the best out of it. You might have to step in and do a little bit more legwork on the UX side, which is never fun to take on more work when somebody's there and hired to do it. But you're definitely going to want to do that for the sake of your product. How do you help steer this person in the right direction? And how do you surface up maybe to management that the expertise aren't there if somebody's not willing to learn? Or how do you get them the coach that they need, right? You want to make sure that you're acting in the best interest of your customers, and that means making them great products. You want to make sure that whoever's on your team is succeeding in that. So I would definitely raise concerns if there's concerns to be raised there. For your UX designer, though, can you bring some user research into them? Can you show them usability studies or do usability tests with them so that they start to understand that the customers are not using it in the same way that you intend them to do? Can you bring them on user research trips, right? How do you get them exposure? And that's really where I would start first and see if it starts to turn things around. And if it doesn't, and there's not a willingness to learn, that's where I would start to escalate those issues.